Getting straight back into it right now, it is my pleasure to introduce Marketplacer and Artisans Bend. So understand marketplace strategies. That's what this is about, how to power up your range extension and take your revenue to this whole new level. Marketplacer is a SaaS platform provider of one of the world's leading marketplace platforms. It's operating in 10 different countries. It's supported by more than 10 years of experience in the building and operating marketplaces. It also provides industry-leading enterprise together with best-in-class technology to enable businesses to create a fully scalable, successful marketplace. So they're accountable for their customers' success post-sales through the entire life cycle. They work really closely with a broad portfolio of customers to develop, implement, and optimize their marketplace strategy for success. This is about recruitment, development, managing. It's that leading high performance teams, including that customer onboarding and software implementation. Kate is joining us, Kate Packman, the Vice President of Customer Success for Marketplacer. Kate is passionate about retail, technology, just delighting the customer and making SaaS customer success in online marketplaces the perfect amalgamation of over 2 decades of experience. Naturally, Kate has a love of building and leading high-performance teams in fast-paced environments and enabling personal and professional development. Kate is highly analytical. She's got strong commercial business acumen, yet a creative streak and a curious mind, which in turn allows her to develop and implement strategies for success, both at a business and a customer level. While she's driven and passionate, she leads with integrity and humility and believes success is the result of collaboration, transparency, and shared vision. Also joining Kate today, we have Sam Penny from Artisans Bend. So Artisans Bend is a marketplace for artisan producers to share their passion and products and get them help in distributing around Australia. Sam is not only CEO, but he is a self-proclaimed cheesemonger, extreme swimmer, public speaker, just like Jack Ambassador as well. Marketplacer with Kate Packman and also Sam Penny are here to discuss how Marketplacer and Overdose delivered Australia's artisanal cheese marketplace, Artisans Bend. Handing over to you guys.
Thanks, Raven.
Thank you so much. Hello, Sam, and thank you so much to Raven for that intro. And of course, to all our previous presenters. The sessions so far have been great. So I've been thoroughly enjoying myself and very much also looking to our chat today. So Sam Penny is here, as Raven said, he's the CEO of Artisans Bend and also Cheese Therapy. So Sam will be touching on that through our chat. And I guess what I think, and I think the audience will also appreciate this, is what Sam's really been able to create with Artisans Bend goes to the heart, I think, of what we all want technology to do. So by leveraging great technology and great partners, Sam's been able to build out an e-commerce platform with a marketplace plug-in with Marketplacer that has enabled him to really scale and grow that platform at pace. So Sam, before we get started, I think I know Peter actually mentioned it before, back in 2017, which to me feels like the olden days. It was actually when I first joined Marketplacer. And at that point, I was still getting questions, what is a marketplace? What do you do? What's your job? What does that mean? Fortunately, I do think the digital landscape has moved on a lot since then. And what we're seeing today, it's really been interesting listening to all the speakers today, because what we're seeing today really is about amalgamating the best in class, technology platforms. And that's exactly what you did, Sam. You already had an existing e-com platform. You've been working with Overdose for some time to drive through that strategy. So can you talk through where you're at, pre-marketplace, what was going on for you? So it'd be nice to go back in time to pre-pandemic for a start. What was going on in your world?
Yeah, certainly, Kate. Well, we launched our e-com business, which is called Cheese Therapy, back in 2016, purely online. It was designed to be a cheese club, a subscription-based model, whereby we just send out a box of cheese to people's home wherever they are in the country, and it was fantastic. It was always about supporting small artisan producers. Obviously, if we fast forward to January 2020, we built our business always with the idea that if we had the right catalyst, we would be able to scale very fast. And so that's why right from the start, we started on Shopify. Our first catalyst wasn't actually COVID. It was the bushfires, where one of our cheesemakers, Milliwer, down in Victoria, had they'd spent about 3 or 4 months making cheese for that Christmas period, December, January 2020, and because of the bushfires, their cellar door trade, which makes up a huge amount of their business, but also all those people who go back to the city that they live in. It's a big part of their marketing. So they had about 3 or 4 tons of cheese that they were actually going to have to bin. I remember it was the 29th of January 2020. The CEO, Credwin, she gave me a call and just said, "Look, Sam, we're in a world of hurt, and we're looking at a real sort of financial bad place. Can we do something?" And I said, "Well, Credwin, let's try and put together a Milliwer box, and let's see if that does anything." And I thought we'd sell 50 boxes. We sold about 2,000 boxes, cleared out all of their stock. And back then it was just 2 or 3 of us working in the business. Roll forward to our next catalyst, which was only about 2 weeks later, mid-March, with COVID, where all of a sudden, we've gone from January to mid-March and a 24x increase in our business. We've sustained that all the way through to now. But the big turning point, I think, really was December 2020, where I wanted to start to bring in other types of products that weren't cheese. And that's where one of the first things that I wanted to do was to showcase to Australia how we actually grow great coffee in this country. And 99% of Australians don't realise that we actually grow coffee. So why would we get it from Venezuela or Ethiopia when we've actually got it growing really well and beautifully in New South Wales and Queensland? Put that out to Australia and it went really well. Then we moved into small batch wines because of the Chinese tariffs they brought in, chocolates, jams, crackers, a whole range of things. And so the January 2021, 12 months ago, we realized that every single category that we kept moving into was going really well. And we realized that we're no longer a destination just for cheese. We're no longer a cheese retailer. We're a destination for artisan produce. And so that's where we started to investigate how can we scale our business in a way that, that we can do it very fast, support hundreds or 1,000 producers around the country and the South Pacific, but also not having to obviously fund all that inventory because, we definitely couldn't do it. And so that's where we landed on the idea of developing cheese therapy into a marketplace, which we now call Artisans Bend. Did a huge amount of investigation on a lot of different platforms around the country and landed on Marketplacer, not just because they're an Australian business, but the technology is solid. Sam Salter, one of the founders of Marketplacer, actually came up to our home on the Sunshine Coast and sat down with us and talked us through everything. But also, we knew that, we're only a small business, but Marketplacer has a lot of that background marketplace understanding of, building Bike Exchange years and years and years ago, but also then, running Surf Stitch and Woolworths and Myer and having a lot of industry experience there. We just realised that if we're going to build a marketplace here in Australia, we also need that. And it's been very interesting being able to work through that whole process. May, I think, was when we first started working with Marketplacer. In October, we launched. What a 6 years this has been.
Yeah, it was you've certainly had quite the journey. And I think for many businesses out there having to deal with the impacts of pandemic, like as much as certainly it was a catalyst for you, I think it also throws some spanners as well in the way that you've been used to doing business. And I guess that was the same for a lot of your artisanal producers. They were used to their standard way of going to market, and all of a sudden they didn't have that. And by launching on your marketplace, they were suddenly able to reach the same customers, but certainly a whole new breed of customers as well. And I think that's, It's been really important, I think, for most of us to try and find some silver linings through all these past few years as well. And that's certainly provided it, I guess, for a lot of these Australian producers too. So I guess when you were thinking through, some of those considerations, so before you landed on technology, what were you thinking through at that stage? Had you always planned on a marketplace, or were you considering that you could essentially just expand cheese therapy, expand what you were doing?
Yeah, certainly. We knew that we could do things as inventory-based model, but I guess the core ethos of what we do is to support small producers, and we certainly know that we've got a lot of value to give to all of our producers. I do a lot of education with them about e-commerce, about marketing, about a whole range of things. I've brought Shopify in, and Klaviyo, and Gorgeous, and content writers, and I'm trying to get all of our small producers to improve their e-commerce capabilities. And if I stay as an inventory-based model, that really becomes redundant. And because I love so much helping small businesses right around the country, if I just buy their product, I'm just another retailer. And I knew that this marketplace model really fits in with our core values of what Artisans Bend is, being able to help all these small mum and dad businesses, and 90% of them are in regional and rural areas. And so that really meant a lot to us. And we knew that we can take a marketplace model which will really fit with our core values and provide something that's going to be valuable to thousands of people right around the country, not just trying to create revenue, but trying to create true community value around the country.
It's almost sounds like a social enterprise, Sam, but obviously there's a great deal of benefit to everyone along the way, not to mention the benefit to consumers, who ultimately those shoppers who get to have the amazing products from us around Australia too. So by launching with Cheese Therapy, it was essentially a seller on Artisans Bend. So you were able to really scale from day one. You had all of those beautiful cheese therapy products there. And then you talk to, I guess, a natural, almost organic style of expansion, moving into chocolates and coffee. What else? What other categories are you considering in that space?
Yeah, well, it certainly sounds like it's a business built around my lifestyle, Kate. All this cheese, coffee, and wine. Look, with Artisans Bend, we've now, I think we've got about 15, 20 different categories that we've really starting to get a lot of depth in. And we've gone from the start of October with just our 100 cheese therapy products to now about 1,500 products. We've got about 100, 120 producers now on the site, and we'll have about 1,000 by Christmas, and 17,000 SKUs. It was only today the way that our site has been organised. We organise it by geographic. So if people want to, for example, support Tasmania or Queensland or New South Wales or the South Pacific, they can go and shop by the category, but also by the dietary requirements. And that's really a key focus. And so today, for example, I was on our vegan section. We've got 350 products in our vegan category alone. And that's already starting to be quite a significant vegan market. So being able to sort of flesh out not just the categories of, say, wine or kombucha or your pantry staples, but also being able to provide a really deep shopping experience in other things that are really aligned with what that customer needs, like vegan or dairy-free or low FODMAP or anything like that.
That's awesome. I've often wondered how the dairy cheese producers get along with the nut cheese producers. So maybe they all play happily on Artisans Bend, but it's a curious one.
Yes, exactly. Look, having a sort of a predominantly cheese-focused business, I have had a lot of interesting interactions with vegans over the time. But now that vegan products make up a large percentage of our site, I think I've very much catered to that audience.
Excellent. I don't know how relevant this is to your world, but can you have too much cheese? Can you have competing products in this space? This is a pretty common marketplace question, whereas what about competing products? Is it cannibalization? How does that work in the artisan blend?
Yeah, a really good question, Kate. And I think that sort of when I describe Artisans Bend, I describe it as the Etsy of food, just more curated. So I'm not trying to have, 200 honey producers on the site. I'm trying to get a good balance of geographic, high quality, and whether there's some sort of dietary requirements in there as well. But also, a big part of what we do is sharing the stories of each of the individual producers. And I think that's a real key, being able to understand and get across to the customer why a producer makes a certain thing. And so, yeah, we may have, say, 100 different honeys on there, but the story of a producer will resonate with different people. And really, my job is about going around the country, interviewing all the producers, filming a lot of content, and creating content so that I can, so that people are not making a decision based on just, I want honey. It's I really like that producer and I want to support them.
That's awesome. Your job's sounding pretty good right now, Sam. I think traveling around the country, having to sample all of the products, and of course creating all the content. It's a great lifestyle you've created also. So you touched on some of the products. Are there some categories that you just won't go into, or there's some products that are not right for the store? Like how do you vet what is right or wrong for the store?
Yeah, I guess this comes back to more of the producer. And so we do a lot of vetting at the producer level. So firstly, are their products artisan? Is it something that they are truly making themselves? We don't work with producers that use contract manufacturers because they're effectively just a marketing business then. We want our producers to be close to the source of the ingredients. If it's jalapenos, they know who the grower is, and they're effectively buying direct from that grower. And so that's where we do our vetting. We've effectively got a category for pretty much every food category that there is. But we won't turn on a category until we've got a reasonable amount of depth in there so that we've got a good customer shopping experience, and they, nothing worse than going onto a site and there's only 5 products. But if we can have, say, 20 or 30 products in a particular category, then we're starting to show some decent depth.
Yeah, I agree. You mentioned before just around that seller mentoring. What I've seen is really a transition from a standard e-commerce site. We all know about customer service and how important that is really to the success, of course, of the business. But now with sellers on board within a marketplace, of course, there's other considerations, seller success. What's your approach to that?
Yeah, look, one of the things with, particularly with, I'm working with small producers. Okay, so small producers are highly passionate in making product. That's what they're really good at. What our marketplace does is effectively helps them with that sales and marketing. If we can help them there, not just sales through Artisans Bend Marketplace, but also if we can help them improve their e-commerce sales, then that's really part of our seller success strategy. But the other thing that is really difficult in Australia is the logistics. And so next week we turn on our warehouse in Melbourne, where we've got about 60 producers going into that warehouse where we're managing all the storage, pick, pack, and logistics for them. And so, particularly chilled, allowing these small producers to access, the infrastructure that we have. We're part of a network which has 700 refrigerated vehicles around the country. These small producers don't have access to that. But by being able to effectively bring them together, consolidate all of these small producers into that one 3PL in Sydney, then they're able to not just ship their artisan bend orders through there, but all of their own generated e-commerce orders and also all their wholesale orders. So now what we're starting to see is that all these small artisan producers are now being able to distribute on a national level, but also market on a national level as well. And the education series that we do is effectively trying to get all of the entire industry of small producers around the country to rise. All ships rise on the tide, and that's what we're trying to do, so that if we can all do this together, we're all really going to be in a much stronger position to compete against the big retailers.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing service you've been able to offer, and I think again it's kind of going back to that, using various technology providers to really come up with that end solution. And whilst you're certainly focused on your sellers, these small artisanal producers and what they're able to do, and by giving them some time back, of course, and not having to focus on marketing or logistics, they can focus, of course, on what they do best, making their beautiful products. But then it's also a benefit to the shoppers. So the shoppers are then receiving their products, chilled delivery, of course, is incredibly important. We all want to make sure our goods arrive safely at the front door of our shoppers. On site, so on Artisans Bend, how have you approached that shopper experience? Like, do they feel like they're in a marketplace? Is that important? How have you approached that?
Yeah, this has generated a huge amount of discussion this week where, we're actually building a new site with Overdose, really where it does, spell out that this is a marketplace. And not so much that the general consumer understands what a marketplace is, but more using buy direct from the producer. Effectively, it's a farmer's market, just a tech-based one. And the build that we're bringing out with Marketplacer in a few months will really bring together a lot of elements. Firstly, just making people understand better that it is a marketplace, but providing a lot more community experience where the producer and the consumer can interact. Effectively having almost like an internal social media where they've got a wall where the producer can share content, the customers can interact with the producer, because what I'm trying to do is build greater bonds between the human face behind the product, who's making that product, and the person who's enjoying it at home.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got a pretty incredible loyalty strategy there. Because again, I think it's within marketplaces, it can be a challenge as to how do you maintain that loyalty with your shoppers. There's often a concern, will that customer go directly to the seller next time? Will they buy direct? But I think, it sounds like what you're doing is you're really able to understand, obviously you understand your suppliers deeply and what their needs are and how you can best assist them. But then it's also working, I guess, with the shoppers. And it seems like you've really tapped into that, that special something where it's people really wanting to connect with where their food is coming from. And whether that's, been impacted or compounded, I guess, by all the pandemic and, of course, there's bushfires, we really do want to know who's behind our product, where does it come from? And I think you've been able to create that link back to the land, essentially, that so many people are looking for at the moment. So, and it's interesting to hear you talk about, I guess, whether or not a marketplace or the customer, the shopper, knows that it's a marketplace. I think it's a really interesting topic because ultimately the shoppers want to buy the right product for them, and you're giving them that opportunity without having for them to jump through hoops through a difficult to navigate site or marketplace. So it's a great solution, I think, where you're going to. I know every time I'm on Artisans Bend, it's difficult to not fill my shopping cart with all the amazing products. Do you have are you thinking about other loyalty programs in that space?
Yes, so I think, once we've got our warehouse up and running, then being able to, effectively run a subscription system offering a free shipping alternative on those products. It's nothing new. It's what Amazon does with their their warehouses and their subscription services and everything like that. But we've got, by the end of this year, we'll have a warehouse with about 5,000 products in it, available for immediate dispatch, available, for a chilled delivery into your home. It will have all of those pantry staples and your everyday items, as well as your luxury items like, some beautiful cheeses. And so building out some more loyalty things around that, to effectively being able to replace more of the weekly grocery shop with products that are from small producers, as opposed to usually large multinationals. And so I think that that's really going to be a very interesting space, being able to really being able to educate people about the provenance of the products, where the ingredients come from. Why does that producer do what they do? But then bringing it back to an every week kind of service, and something that people can easily tap into.
I love that. I think, I think for most of us, anything that replaces the essential weekly shop is a good thing. You touched on some of that, obviously the logistics there. And that can be sometimes a blocker, and we all know what shipping does to abandoned cart rates, in an e-commerce platform. How have you approached that in a true marketplace? Each vendor, each seller may actually have an additional shipping charge. What's been your approach to that overall?
Yeah, and I think that is where it's the downfall of marketplaces. If you go onto Artisans, Ben, if you buy from 4 producers, and it's the same as Etsy, eBay, Amazon, you buy from 4 different micro stores on the site, you'll be charged 4 different shipping charges. It then makes that shop quite expensive, and that's why we're building our 3PL in Sydney, so that the customer then only has the one shipping charge. We're overcoming that real consumer hesitancy of having the multiple shipping charges. And so that's, because, you may only want to buy 1 jar from Silver Tongue Foods, and you may only want to buy 1 bar of chocolate from Jasper and Myrtle out of Papua New Guinea. But if they are in our warehouse in Melbourne, this, along with 3 or 4, 5, 6 other different producers, you're only still paying that 1 shipping charge. And that's really sort of the strategy that we're putting in place. And for us, it's a significant strategy to overcome that barrier of what marketplaces have, at the same time providing a service that is so vital to our small producers around the country, being able to tap into our scale and our logistics assets.
I love that, and I love the bit of product placement too there, Sam. Just going
I've
back
got
to
a whole wall of it. Unfortunately, the wine bottles are empty.
I'm sure we can all go shopping after our chat. But thinking back to some of those products, what's some of the stranger or more unusual products you've come across?
Oh, I tell you, I don't know about sort of strange, but just some really beautiful products. One of them, it's called FICO Health. It's a range out of South Coast, New South Wales, down around Nowra. And it's made by a lady called Dr. Pia Winberg. She's a seaweed scientist. And she set out to save the world by growing seaweed and trying to capture carbon from the atmosphere, and basically tying it up into seaweed. But then she realised that you can grow seaweed, but there's only so much seaweed that you can grow. And so she's actually then turned all of her products into pantry staple items. So she's got, for example, dukkha, she's got pasta, she's got a whole range of things, all made out of seaweed. Beautiful umami flavors through them, a lot of micronutrients that you would normally get in seaweed. And it's amazing. Like, I never would have considered seaweed to create a range of about 20 different products. So that's FICO Health. I've got a range of coffee from Tanner in Vanuatu. And just the simple act of buying a 1 kilo bag of coffee, of Tanner coffee, supports 1,000 small growers on the volcanic island of Tanner. They're not unusual products, they're everyday products, but the benefits that that you have just by buying something that we would normally buy, coffee, supporting these 1,000 small micro farmers in Tanner. Yeah, there's so many great stories all the way through.
Yeah, I really love that. And I think it goes to the heart too of what a marketplace can do. Whereas in traditional commerce and traditional retail, bricks and mortar, you're certainly always considering your merchandise strategy and making sure you've got the stock balanced as to the right products at the right time. Marketplace gives you a little bit more free rein. You can really try new products. There's obviously much lower risk. You don't have all the overheads. You're not owning the product. So it allows the merchandise team to actually get in there and see what else is out there in market and really test and learn. And obviously by what you're doing, Sam, is also helping some of these really small artisanal producers along the way. And I think that's certainly one of the key benefits we see every day for our clients with running marketplaces, is just how that it takes that risk away. And I think for buying teams, merchandise teams, it's quite the relief to be able to get out there, and you can be almost as creative as you want, or as creative as the producers might be in this instance, where someone's able to do something amazing with seaweed. Which is a good thing. My son loves seaweed, so I'm sure he'll be very keen to try these products. But I think that's, it's these unique products out there that also can give your site an edge. They're not stocked widely. Often products like these might be only in the local farmers market. So it's actually really democratizing that platform as well. Customers can get in there and see what's available from these small producers as well, and actually live a bit of Sam's life for a minute and try and sample out some of the products as well.
Well, that's right. That's right, Kate. If you go into the big box supermarkets, they may only have 4 brands of peanut butter, for example. Whereas you go onto our site, we may have, and I don't know how many sort of different brands of peanut butter I've got on there, but we could quite easily have 20. If we look at something like honey, you've got so much regionality in the flavors. Honey produced off clover in Tasmania, and a lot of the other crops down there tastes so different to something here in on the Sunshine Coast. And so you've got just greater choice. You've got more interesting stories. You start to form greater connections with the producers. So rather than going in and sort of mind-numbingly walking up and down aisles, I choose that because that's what I've had for the last 20 years. Now you get to actually interact more with the producer and understand a lot more. And we touched on earlier about sort of vetting products. We vet our producers, but we actually let our customers rate and provide their honest feedback about each of the products. And we let our producers put up everything that they want, but we let then the customer provide their honest feedback. And that's the great thing about the community that we've built. We're constantly getting the customers rating products, providing their feedback to it. So it's valuable to other producers, to all the producers, particularly getting that direct feedback, but also other consumers. And so we then start to see a lot of those trends going through in purchasing decisions based on ratings, obviously. But it's one of the few times that the producers are able to get that direct feedback. So you never get that with any normal bricks and mortar retailer.
Yeah, that's quite an extraordinary way to, we all know ratings and reviews are so important in a commerce platform. But to be able to get that information for the suppliers to be able to see that in such a tangible space as well, and potentially, obviously, in the future, interact directly with the shoppers. I think that's adding a whole new element as well to that user experience, that shopper experience that is so important these days, and to really capture your audience and make it feel unique, so they do keep coming back. And obviously, that's what we all want. So thinking through, I guess, the implementation phase when you're building in that marketplace, were there any big surprises throughout that phase?
Yeah, look, one of the things with marketplace, marketplace are running, the Woolworths marketplace and Myer and Surf Stitch and Bike Exchange and a few others. We were the first Shopify. We're on Shopify Plus. We were the first Shopify integration that marketplace had done. Effectively, the guinea pig. And there was a lot of learning from everybody. Marketplace, Overdose as our agency, and as well as ourselves. We chose to stay with Shopify Plus as, particularly our front end and the ability to organise products and do a whole range of different things that we thought that we may struggle with Marketplacer. Marketplacer is such a solid tech back end to manage that marketplace, to integrate directly into the inventory levels and their inventory management of the producers. And that has worked extremely well. So it has been a very interesting process, and we've certainly spent a lot of time just working through a lot of things. But I think it's sort of something that I'm proud that we actually did. I love trying new things. I love pioneering things. This is certainly sort of for us a small way of pioneering to be, Marketplace's first Shopify site. And as I understand, there's a few more lining up after us.
Yeah, and I think, Sam, you certainly do have that pioneering spirit. And I guess, for our audience, this has been your first venture, certainly, cheese therapy in this e-commerce space and venture into marketplaces. And I guess that also goes to say, I think there was a comment earlier on, is composable commerce, or is CMS just for really big businesses? And I think it's the same with marketplaces. It doesn't have to be you've mentioned, some of the really big guys out there, Woolworths, Myer, barbecues galore, but certainly we're seeing a lot of growth also, in these really mid-tier enterprise type clients as well coming through. And I guess that's certainly as we move into more of this composable commerce space as well, where there's just so much opportunity to be able to essentially do what you did, Sam, and plug Marketplacer into your existing e-com stack, into your existing tech stack. And you're continuing to build on that as well through your logistics, your 3PL provider, or that you're building out as well. And I think you've also mentioned you're also building out a warehouse management system. So you're someone who's, this is relatively new territory. You're certainly not holding back as far as some of the new initiatives. And I guess it also plays into what we were hearing earlier. It's like if you can't stop. Like it's constantly this constant reiteration, constantly looking at how can we do better, whether it's do better for ourselves, for the commerce platform, for our shoppers, and of course for our sellers. And I think that's where I can really see you going. It must be your engineering background coming out, where you're constantly trying to look at the overall process and how to improve, and what other levers can you find, whether it's new technology. I love this concept of bringing in microservices to really drive the overall solution as well. So, and I see that you're really already going down that path as well with Artisans Bend. Thinking, I guess, 2022, it's like we're still early days. Where are you seeing, I've probably touched on, might have stolen your thunder, but where are you seeing some of your other successes going forward for the rest of the year?
Look, I think sort of a lot of, we've got a capital raise coming up to really accelerate things further. I expect by Christmas we'll have 1,000 producers as part of our platform, Artisans Bend. That will be 20,000 different products on the site, all produced by small mum and dad businesses. Being able to offer logistics services, education services, a lot of marketing services as well. Really, I've spent 6 years working with small producers, not just Australia, but throughout the South Pacific and other countries. And I've learned, what their significant pain points are. They love making stuff with their hands. They love, making, chocolate or, jams or, pickles or whatever it is. But I know that we can do that sales and marketing. I know that we can do that logistics for them. And so really being able to, really help, thousands of thousands of small businesses throughout the region to really rise and, just be in a much better position.
Yeah, it's, I think, again, it really encapsulates what we're all trying to do with technology. It ultimately, it's making people's lives better, isn't it? So by partnering with Overdose, marketplaces, Shopify Commerce, you've really been able to leverage from the know-how, I guess, of these technology providers, wrap it all up in your own skill set, working directly with these sellers to create amazing content whilst they're busy creating amazing product that ultimately we, as the lucky consumers, get to enjoy. I think it's a pretty incredible story, and I think, as you said, for 6 short years, it's quite the incredible journey. So, Sam, thank you so much for sharing your story and coming on here for the Overdose Summit. I've loved hearing about these stories, and again, it's certainly why I love my job, is to be hearing these very human stories about the impact that the technology that we all work in every day can have, obviously, on the suppliers, on these small batch producers. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Kate. Really appreciate the opportunity to share the story.
Oh, very welcome. Thank you very much, Overdose. And if there are any questions, and Raven is back, but if there's any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, hop into our marketplace booth, where our team will also be happily assist.
Amazing. Oh, you basically stole my job. You did even better than me. Thank you guys both, Sam, Penny, and also to Kate from Marketplacer. And thank you so much to Artisans Ben for being a part of our event today. We really appreciate it.